Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Vikings, bye week. Gophers, W and homecoming. But this week, you got Nebraska on a Friday. You got the Eagles on a Sunday. It's a loaded week of football, people. We'll talk about all that and much more coming up next on the Ron Johnson Show.
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson. It's a rainy Tuesday here in Minnesota. Wherever you're listening from, hopefully you are seeing sun, because we are not overcast skies. But you know what's not overcasted? The Gophers game and the Vikings game. Vikings for sure, because they're indoors. Gophers, we'll see Friday night what's going on with them. But I want everybody to know we're gonna talk a lot today about both programs, because one heading in the right direction, the other has to figure out the direction it's heading in, and that comes down to quarterback play and who will be the quarterback on Sunday. We're all waiting to hear. It's like Christmas morning. Everybody's sitting by the tree waiting for Dad to tell us what the gift is. And it could be a Carson Wentz. It could be a J.J. McCarthy, but we will find out Christmas morning. I want everybody to know, before we jump into today's show, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bets win. How does that work, you ask? Done it. Simple. You just go onto the app once you download it. You make your first $5 bet. Make it something easy. Find out who the Dolphins are playing, or maybe who the Jets are playing. Make that $5 bet against them, because the Jets most likely are going to lose, especially if the Jets are playing a winning team. But it's a lot of upsets happening lately, so I apologize if your first $5 bet doesn't win, but I'm pretty sure some of these are locked, so make sure you guys check that out. Or Justin Jefferson for over 550 yards. Probably a lock coming up this week against the Eagles. It's going to be a throw fest. But if that bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets, and then you're playing with house money now. You can bet on whatever you want. Pick your 12-team parlay, whatever you want to do, because it makes the game more fun to watch your teams win, to win the big money. But make sure you do that. Just go to FanDuel.com and download the app. Well, as I bring my producer to the show, my co-host, Sam Ekstrom. Sam, the Minnesota Vikings have a tough decision to make. We talked about this. How many yards does Carson Wentz have to throw for in order to maintain this job? How well does Carson Wentz have to do to maintain this job? And we always talked about that. We kept game after game, show after show. We continuously talked about, what does Carson Wentz have to do? I think a lot of us said, man, if he throws for 300 plus yards, if he goes out there and just rips it up, tears it up, if he doesn't look inept, is it going to be tough to give the ball back to J.J. McCarthy? Sam, I'll let you go first. Has Carson Wentz done enough with a fully healthy J.J. McCarthy to feel like he deserves to remain the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings?
I don't think enough. I don't think he's done enough. And 2-1 is nice, but I don't think he's done enough in those games to say we are going to keep our top 10 pick franchise quarterback that we've built around on the sideline. I think J.J. McCarthy still needs an opportunity. And I think it's key what you said, a fully healthy J.J. McCarthy. I think they're willing to throw Carson Wentz out there as long as J.J. McCarthy is not 100%. And it sounds like maybe he's not. Maybe he needs a longer ramp up to get to where they need him to be. I thought this was going to be just a 2 or 3 week and back injury for J.J. McCarthy. This would be the fourth week, or the fourth game, I should say, that McCarthy would miss. I'm just confused, Ron. If they believed McCarthy could return, within 4 weeks, why didn't they put him on IR? Why wasn't he in IR? Because they could have saved a roster spot. I don't get that part of it. That's the only kind of curious thing to me, is how come he was in IR? Because that's 4 weeks right there, and it's been 4 weeks. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I think Carson Wentz will play if J.J. McCarthy's not 100%. If he is, I'd put the young guy back in there for another shot.
And here's where I go with this. So the last taste of JJ McCarthy, Sam, you know this. Like you're married. You eat. Your kids eat. The last taste of a meal, whether good or bad, but especially if it's bad, you don't forget that, right? If it's good, you remember like, oh man, that was some good food. That was a good pizza. That was a good, that was a good meal. If it's bad, you're like, I don't ever want to eat from that place again. I'm not going to say the restaurant, but I've had that experience, Sam. I went to a place with my daughter. I didn't personally eat because I thought, you know what, this heavy of a pizza before a softball game, I didn't think it was a good idea. And my daughter was like 10 at the time. And her whole team ate at this restaurant at State. Sam, our first baseman got sick. My daughter threw up. She was in the car sleeping before the next game because I was like, just sleep it off, take some Tylenol. Unfortunately, my wife was with my younger 8U daughter at hers, so I had to be alone with my daughter. And not alone. There was other parents and moms there to help me out. But I'm like, sickness, and you know this, Sam, sickness sometimes is a mom thing. Like something they just need mom to feel a little bit better. Mom knows what to do. And I will never forget that. So to this day, before games, I am very cautious of what my kid eats. I'm like, you're not eating heavy pizza or cheese. And in this place, Sam, this place, one, wasn't prepared for the size of a team we bought. They had to call employees into work to handle two soft, because it was our team and another team showed up in there. I don't know why they weren't prepared. It was state tournament. You're the only restaurant in town. We were out in like St. Charles, Minnesota, Sam. So it was a small town, out there. There's nothing else out there. Why are you not prepared for the state tournament? There's 24 to 32 teams out here. So they're going to and you're a pizza joint. They're going to frequent your spot. Mm-hmm. Sam, they had to call family members in to come work. It looked like they had pulled old cheese out of the freezer. Like, oh, we finally get to use this old cheese. It did not go well. Our pitcher was sweating. She must have got food poisoning. Maybe my daughter, I think, had food poisoning. It was bad. It was bad, Sam. We ended up winning the next two games, which gave the girls a chance to go home, rest, and then get ready for the state game the next day. We ended up losing again, third place. But I never forget that. And so when I think about meals, JJ McCarthy's last meal, like what he fed us as a fandom and as an analyst group, his last game, Sam, was 11 for 21, 158 yards, no touchdowns and 2 interceptions. They lost 22-6 to the Minnesota Vikings. So when you think about that, then you go to Carson Wentz, because now we get told, we didn't even know JJ was hurt. We get told Carson Wentz coming in. First game, 14 for 20, efficient, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't have to do a lot, though, because Isaiah Rodgers killed it, came to life. The defense came to life. Next game, 30 for 46, so he absolutely threw it around. 350, and he might have threw it away. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But hey, 350, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That's a loss. That was to the Pittsburgh Steelers overseas. Then he turned around, won the game, 25 for 34, 236, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Won the game. Sam, the first game, efficient. Not a lot of yards, but 2 touchdowns. The next game, absolutely showed he could throw for 350 yards, but he did have those 2 picks. If he doesn't have those 2 picks, Sam, I go back and think they probably win that Steelers game. Mm-hmm. Like if he doesn't have those picks, if they put the ball in the end zone one more time, they win that. Like it comes down to that. That's 2 chances that he could have continued to drive without throwing an interception. And we know the story. They lost 24-21. That's maybe a field goal to go to overtime. That's maybe a touchdown to win 27 or 28-24. But then that 25 for 34, 236, 1 touchdown. The Carson Wentz meal, if we're eating these quarterbacks, feels a little bit better than our last experience with JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, like, if we feel that way, does Kevin O'Connell feel that way? Because his press conference, Sam, as you brought up when we were back before the show started, didn't like scream JJ McCarthy is our quarterback. Like in the offseason, it screamed JJ McCarthy's our quarterback. Because everybody was like, why'd you let Sam Darnold go? Why'd you do JJ McCarthy's our quarterback? JJ McCarthy's our quarterback. When they brought Carson Wentz in, JJ McCarthy's our quarterback. Like it was very stern, to the point. He's our quarterback. He's going to lead us to the promised land. Now it's like, whoa, okay. Looking around the room, this Carson Wentz kid's pretty good. I'm enjoying this Carson Wentz kid. Like he's having the conversations with him. I don't know if you saw him mic'd up. We had him on Vikings game day. live this weekend for the recap show, and he was mic'd up. And he went to Carson Wentz before, I think, the first game maybe, and said, hey, I don't know what you look like in your Halloween costume as a Viking, but you look pretty good now. And, Carson Wentz said that, like, yeah, it didn't fit as well as it fits now, blah, blah. He's like having fun with Carson Wentz, and he's talking to him in the headset. Hey, I'm with you the whole way. I'm with you the whole way. It felt a little Bucky and Winter Soldier, Captain America-ish. I'm with you the whole way. I'm with you to the end of the line. I got you. So does he have that same affinity for J.J. McCarthy? And that's what I worry about, Sam. And here's the thing. And actually this, if J.J. McCarthy does start, because they're just like, look, it's his team. We're playing the Eagles. The Eagles are hurting right now. The Eagles are not doing great things. If J.J. McCarthy has any issues at home, does he get booed for people wanting Carson Wentz back in the game?
This is the conundrum of having two quarterbacks that you can count on, is that people always want the other guy. Grass is always greener when the first guy struggles. And the fans, I think, were a little bit, they got a bad last taste of the J.J. McCarthy meal as well. That was the home opener. And the fans had to sit on their hands the entire game. They had nothing to cheer about. And these fans want to win this year. It's easy to say, Ron, we're just going to take our lumps with J.J. McCarthy. We're going to let him develop. There's going to be some problems. We might lose some games. We're going to let him develop. It's very easy to say that. It's very hard to do that when you look at your roster and you look at your record and you say, man, with Carson Wentz, if we can just get to 10 wins, we're in the tournament. And he gives us a better chance to win game to game. That's hard. It's going to be hard for them to stick to it if they go with J.J. McCarthy, because he could easily get eaten up by an Eagles defensive line. He could easily get eaten up by a Lions defensive line in a couple weeks. He's taken on his former coach in between, with Harbaugh and the LA Chargers. There's a lot at stake for J.J. McCarthy if he plays these next few games. You and I tend to think it's going to be Wentz. We think that they put Wentz in against his former team, little revenge match, and see how it goes. Kevin O'Connell yesterday, Ron, he was talking about really slow playing it, like really kind of rebuilding J.J. McCarthy up with his foundation and getting him to a full 100%. It didn't sound like they were in any rush whatsoever to get him back on the field. And maybe that's good, Ron, against an Eagles team that could shatter your confidence pretty quickly.
Yeah, and the Eagles defense is good. What's struggling for the Eagles, and I'm literally like, today is the day where I break down film for the Minnesota Vikings and we put it on Vikings.com. It's going to be on the Vikings pregame show. And as I look through, because I usually try to let the whole week go through. So one, I have a range of stats to say, like, here's their third down percentage, here's their second and long percentage, all that kind of stuff. And when you look at the Eagles, their defense is good. Like nobody's denying that they have a solid defense. Their defense continues to do what's needed to be done. It's their offense, I guess, is what people are worried about, because there's a lot of consternation between players. Like you got people concerned about AJ Brown reading books on the sideline. Like the fact that your receiver is reading books on the sideline and that's a headline, it's got to be a little concerning. When you look at Philly as a whole, though, you think about third down conversions and who is better at third down conversions. Well, right now, I mean, and here's where the sad thing is, Sam. Have you been paying attention to third down conversions before I go into this stat?
Maybe not closely enough. I'd like to hear it.
So the Minnesota Vikings, do you know where they rank right now after last night's game is done? Because now the stats, I just checked, the stats have been fully uploaded from last night's game.
Okay.
Because everybody's played 6 games, except for Houston's played 5. Minnesota's played 5. Where do you think the Vikings rank on third down conversions?
It can't be good. It cannot be good. I'm going to say 24th.
Yeah. Lower. You were on the right track, Sam. They are the bottom of the barrel. They are right at, wow. Yeah, it's pretty bad. They are, let me redo this because it just gave me that weird, you're not logged in thing. When you go back to, let me go back to the percentages. The Minnesota Vikings.
30th.
Yep, the Minnesota Vikings are 30th, and the Eagles are 29th. So that's what's concerning is if you think about the Eagles before, the Eagles were legit. Like the Eagles were one of the best teams in the NFL as far as conversion. Why? Tush push. Their 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 was like the best in the NFL when you think about running the ball, when you think about getting the ball out of your hands quick for a guy like what's his name? Jalen Hurts, you know. Now here's the other crazy thing though, Sam, and this is what's weird to me about the Minnesota Vikings. On 1st and 2nd down, right? 1st and 2nd down, yards gained per play. Minnesota Vikings are 7th. How? How are you ranked 7th in 1st and 2nd down yards gained per play? And like, and Sam, other teams up here, like the Lions are up here. The Rams are up here. The Buffalo Bills are up here. Tampa Bay. Like, how are the Minnesota Vikings not better on 3rd down when they're not putting themselves in 3rd and long? Now, I will say they have had some weird 3rd and long situations. We know that, penalties and so forth. But 1st and 2nd down, Sam. Now, here's the thing. Philly makes sense. 1st and 2nd down, they're 29th on yards gained per play. 29th. Yards gained per play on 1st and 2nd down. So that tracks. If you're 29th on yards gained between 1st and 2nd down, 3rd down, you're probably struggling. Eagles make sense. The Vikings are 7th. 3rd down, they're 30th. What?
Wow.
How does that make sense? It doesn't. And so, again, could this be Carson Wentz holding on to the ball too long? Is this Kevin O'Connell looking and saying, man, J.J. McCarthy would have ran for that 3rd and 5? Because Carson Wentz is getting sacked. He's getting tackled. He's not getting out of the pocket fast enough. JJ's ducking and going like we saw with Caleb Williams. I don't know if you watched that. Caleb Williams is a magician sometimes. We saw that with Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you saw that one. That Chris Collinsworth like basically wants to marry Patrick Mahomes the way he scrambles. And say, what quarterback does that? Did you not watch Baker Mayfield just do that? Like, what are you talking about? Did you not watch Caleb Williams? Did you not watch Carson Wentz take a hit and get hurt? Like other quarterbacks are running the ball and taking hits. So, but anyway, I digress. That's why the only thing when I look at these stats, Sam, 1st and 2nd down, pretty good for the Minnesota Vikings. 3rd down, not. 3rd down is usually blitz, pressure. How do you alleviate that blitz pressure? Your quarterback just gets out the pocket and goes. Carson Wentz is not doing that. So that's the only reason, Sam, why I say it's not as easy said as done as we all think. It's not an easy, like, yeah, Carson Wentz can throw the ball. He can. But what's going on 3rd down? Why is this 3rd down conversion so bad? Why are they not able to convert? You know,
I'm looking at some more 3rd down stats, Ron. This is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So the Vikings, on average, they average about 7.2 yards to go on 3rd down, and that's middle of the road.
Yep.
That's kind of the middle of the NFL. The yards that they gain on 3rd down, on average, is dead last in the league. They are averaging just 2.3 yards gained on 3rd down conversions. The best teams in the league are averaging 6.9. That's 3 times better than the Vikings.
That's bad. It's bad. That's part of it though. That's part of the problem because people can say like, oh, well, the Eagles, 1st and 2nd down, they get their first downs because they're an explosive offense. They get their first downs on 1st and 2nd down. True. They have 72 and the Minnesota Vikings only have 62. So they do better on 1st and 2nd down converting. But I'm not looking at the total number because they do get more plays than the Vikings on offense because they run the ball a lot more and they control the clock a lot more. I'm looking at the percentage. The percentage, it doesn't matter if they had 100 chances and they had 50. It's still the percentage. Whose percentage is better? Why are they so close in percentage? Whereas 1st and 2nd down, one team, yards gained, 3rd down, they were both down here. So it's the play calling maybe on 3rd down, Sam. You hit the nail on the head. And that's where I go is like, is Kevin O'Connell's 3rd down offense hampered because of the lack of foot speed, the lack of maybe I created an offense this offseason to get my quarterback rolling out the pocket to have like a option, like a run pass option. Throw it. If it's not there, keep going. You use your legs like Kyler Murray. Use your legs. Like that's when you think about Aaron Rodgers in his prime, that's what he was great at. You would have everybody covered. You would have the rush on and Aaron Rodgers would get out. He would get a first down and he would do the discount double check. and he in your face. I'm your daddy to the Chicago Bears. Like, he loved it. And that's where I wonder how much. Did the Steelers play the Packers yet? They have to play the Packers, don't they? Or was that a crossover just for the Vikings? The Steelers have to play the Packers.
No, they will. They will at some point. It hasn't happened yet. Let me check the Packers schedule.
There it is. October 26th.
Yep. Sunday.
So that's in 2 weeks. Ooh. I didn't even, and the Packers have to travel to Aaron Rodgers' home in Pittsburgh. I did not even think about that one. Talk about who's your daddy. Mm-hmm. Like, is it going to be Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers? And Aaron Rodgers knows everything about that offense. He's telling that defense as much as he can tell them. But when you think about this team, when you think about the Minnesota Vikings, you think about the quarterback situation before we jump over to the Gophers, it comes down to that. It comes down to third down efficiency and who gives me the best chance to convert third downs when all heck break loose. Because again, we can say this offensive line is not complete. We can say that pressure is going to come. Do you want pressure to come with Carson Wentz back there? He can't run. He can see. He can throw. I think J.J. McCarthy can too if you help him. And Kevin O'Connell did kind of make the comment of like J.J. McCarthy being upright, being there on the field, watching Carson Wentz operate. Maybe that's a little bit of tell to like, okay, I think J.J. McCarthy's learned, because when he was hurt before, he couldn't really learn. He was just hurt. He was working out. He was doing what he could. But it wasn't like full dialed in, I got a chance to get back on the field. It was, let me just rehab. Let me just watch. Let me talk to guys. And, it's a different mindset when you know you're not coming back. When you know you're coming back. And again, if they don't put him on IR and he does not play, and it has been 4 weeks, Sam, you're right. Does that make the staff look inept? Does that make the GMs, I don't know if that's the GM's decision or who that comes down to, the staff, the working staff plus the coaches. Like, does that make them look like, why wouldn't you have then put them on IR to bring somebody else in to have another body?
Yeah. And also, to jump onto that, Ron, it also takes some of the debate out of it. Like, if he's on IR, you don't have to worry about people asking like us. You don't have to listen to these debates. He's on IR. He's hurt. He can't play. Because he's not on IR, we're going to talk about this every single week. And also, you could use that roster spot. You have a lot of injuries. That's why I think it's a little weird. And did they misjudge the injury when it happened? Was it more serious than they thought? And is it not healing as well? That's something that I'd be concerned about with my young franchise quarterback if he doesn't have the ability to, kind of bounce back in the timeline they thought.
Yeah, that's the key. Is like, is it the doctors thought it was a simple high ankle sprain and it's worse than they thought? Is his rehab going slower than they thought? Sometimes it's pain tolerance. Does it hurt? Is he still limping? Because that's the key. You don't want him limping around on the field. You don't want somebody tackling him on the first play and everybody's like, and then he gets up slow and he's doing the limp. And then the rest of the season, he has remember, Ben Roethlisberger. Remember Ben Roethlisberger used to have that all the time? Like he would hurt his ankle every year, it felt like. And then every big play, it was like, he's hopping down the field. He's still making the throws. He's still limping around. But he always had that ankle. Every other year or so, I felt like there was always a Ben Roethlisberger highlight, throwing a touchdown, barely running, and limping to the touchdown celebrator. Like it just felt like it. But by the way, too, I did watch a couple highlights of Antonio Brown with Ben Roethlisberger. Ben Roethlisberger was hard to tackle. Like, I didn't realize how hard it was. I mean, because it looks like guys aren't trying, but they are. He's just huge. He's a big human being, and it was tough to get him down. But I just thought about that, like him limping. Like, you don't want J.J. McCarthy limping around U.S. Bank Stadium trying to make throws. And then, again, because if he goes bad against the Eagles, you're going to hear the boo birds. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants the boo, especially for your young quarterback, your season that's still early, still alive. You still have a chance. You can rattle off. I think, so Sam, we talked about this, upcoming stretch, toughest stretch. Last one before we get over to the Gophers. Mm-hmm. This last stretch of games, you look at Ravens are in there, Lions are in there, Chargers are in there, Eagles. I think they can go 3-1, Sam. And here's why I say that. The Eagles are vulnerable, and they're getting them at a great time. They're coming off their bye. They're rested. They're going to get, according to Kevin O'Connell, they should have Gink back. They should have Blake Cashman back. So they're getting bodies back on defense, which is what matters the most, too, when it comes to stopping a team like the Eagles. The Eagles, and I've talked myself into this, Sam, as I've been looking at the stats. I think I'm going to break down all the Jalen Hurts mistakes. Like, you should have threw it here, but you threw it here. Like his pick six. Like, here's where Jalen Hurts is good, and here's where Jalen Hurts is bad. I think I'm going to do that. Good Jalen Hurts, bad Jalen Hurts. And showing that this defense can get after him. When you look at that, then you look at the Ravens. Who knows if Lamar Jackson's going to be back healthy by then? Hopefully not. I hate to say it for my team. I would love to see Lamar Jackson in U.S. Bank Stadium, but I don't want to see him. I want to see him just walking around in a sweatsuit. I don't want to see him. So they have a chance to win that one. Chargers are an anomaly. Like, sometimes the Chargers are really good, and sometimes the Chargers are really bad. Like, you don't know what you're going to get. Like, literally. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Shout out to my guy Forrest Gump. You just don't know. The Chargers like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. And then when you look at the Lions, right? The Lions are in that, right? In this four stretch.
And the Vikings have to play them at Ford Field after the Lions bye.
Yep.
Not easy.
So that's the one for me where I'm like, that's probably the loss. But the Lions lost to the Chiefs. The Lions showed they can bleed. They showed they could bleed early in the season too, but they lost to the Chiefs. And what did I notice about that game? Patrick Mahomes got the ball out of his hands pretty quick. And then when the rush came, he just went. He didn't wait for the rush to come around him. He just went. The minute he saw that whatever wide blitz or wide rush where they were trying to contain him, he just shot up the middle. And then he took his lumps with the linebackers. Now, again, I don't know if that's what you want to do with J.J. McCarthy, but it's there. It's there. Patrick Mahomes took advantage of it every once in a while where he was like, there's no throw. I'm just going to get up the field and go and get me 5-6 yards. That's where I feel like the Lions are vulnerable. It's like they did not look good. Brian Branch, now it won't happen in our game, but Brian Branch is suspended for a game for the fight against Juju Smith-Schuster. Maybe the Lions come with a harder suspension, or maybe they're like, that's enough. The league punished them. We're good there. But that's all I was thinking about, Sam, when I thought about this team. And there's so much we could talk about. I'll be on, the Wednesday show, the Thursday show. We'll talk more about the Vikings. But there's a lot to unpack with this team. You just don't know what you're going to get. But I do feel like 3-1 down the stretch, J.J. McCarthy's the quarterback. All's not lost. Everybody's back to being happy again. And they're right. And they're probably, because I feel like the Packers might lose to the Steelers. They're probably in first place or tie for first place. But anyway, I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom. We got the Gopher conversation coming up next, but we'll do that after a word from our sponsors.
And that sponsor today is FanDuel. FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. We've been talking about it for a while. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Checking out Vikings-Eagles right now. Vikings 2.5-point home underdogs against the struggling Philadelphia Eagles. Who's going to be the quarterback? How's that going to change the line? Watch all of that at FanDuel. You can bet the over-unders. You can bet the spreads, live wagering, same-game parlays, future bets, all of that. Whether you're a casual fan or you like to deep dive into it, FanDuel has something for you. So why wait? FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and get started today.
Well, Sam, the Gophers, Friday night. It's a Friday night game, and they got a couple this year. I'm kind of annoyed at that, but it is what it is. Actually, PJ Fleck, we had PJ Fleck on the PJ Fleck show yesterday. It's his show. Of course he's on it. And he talked about actually how it worked out perfect that their first Friday night game was not until after MEA week. So for those not listening in Minnesota, I don't know, does the whole world do MEA? I don't know if the whole world does MEA. But MEA, which, Sam, you know what that is, right? The Teachers Week of Minnesota, was it Minnesota Education and Assessment or something?
Yeah. Is it? And I've yet to have that, like, until this year. I think my daughter has it off.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm aware of it. October usually coming up.
Yep. So MEA this week. So my daughter, today is her last day for my middle school, or my elementary schooler, 5th grader. And my high school daughter, because her school wanted to do e-learning to give the kids a chance to feel like they're in college, they have a Monday, Tuesday e-learning. So distance learning, Monday, Tuesday, no school Wednesday. So they got the whole week off, basically. But I did make her sit at the kitchen table and do her work all day yesterday. I know we let her sleep in tonight because she has last night, because she has a volleyball game today. And so we wanted to make sure she was rested. But then we're like, when you get up, You got to get your homework done. You got to study for your tests because they do have tests when they come back to school. But they got Monday, Tuesday off. And PJ Fleck said it worked out perfect because all the high school football players, Sam, if you didn't know that, they play tomorrow. They play on MEA Wednesday, which is the teacher's last day, which some coaches are teachers. So they wanted to kind of say, you know what? We know parents like to travel for that Thursday, Friday because it's an extended 4-day weekend. And so now you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you want to get on the road somewhere. And like some of my daughter's friends' parents, like they went all out. Like they left already and went to like Hawaii. They went to Mexico. They're like, look, we got the whole week off. Some of Cam's teammates for softball, they're taking like a trip to New York to see Hamilton in New York. So people are taking advantage of that. We are not. We are staying here because I have to work. Also, it costs a lot of money to do all that, and I don't want to spend that. I would rather stay here and relax and rest. We traveled enough for softball. Those are our trips. Because the very next weekend, then my daughter hits the road to go down to Illinois to play in another softball tournament to get ready for the Nationals. But when you look at this MEA week, and PJ's hoping this, a lot of people traveled, but he's hoping these high school players that play on Wednesday will then say, hey, Mom, let's go watch the Gophers on Friday night. We don't play Friday night. Let's go watch the Gophers. So I told PJ, I said, what they should have done, or I didn't tell him, I was thinking this in my head as we were on the show. I was like, they should have promoted that to these high schools to say, hey, if you're a high school student, if you're a high school coach, 50% off tickets for the Nebraska night game. Like promote to get them in the building early. So then all these teams prepare as a team to say, hey, let's all go to the game and let's sell this thing out. Let's wear maroon. But you got Nebraska coming to the stadium, Sam. And the defense right now for the Gophers looks really good. The question mark, and this must be a Minnesota thing, is can Drake Lindsey get it done once more? Because he's had some really good games. And then, of course, there's Ohio State. And we know that's a different beast. But it's not so much a Drake Lindsey, Sam. It's the weapons around him. Like it feels like every game there's a different guy. Like it's not always like you could count on Eric Decker every game. You could count on Rashad Bateman or Tyler Johnson every game. You know, you could count on even Chris Altman-Bell, you know, when he was in that group. You can count on him. As he got older and got hurt, less of it. You can count on Daniel Jackson. Right now, it's LeMahieu Brockington one game, Jalen Smith the next game. You know, then they both disappear. Javon Tracy steps up. Then Jamison Gear steps up. Then they disappear. You know, like it's not one guy stepping up every single game. Darius Taylor's been hurt. He was the leading receiver, you know, one of the leading receivers. Run game, not so much. And you got Emmett Johnson from Minneapolis coming back into town with Nebraska. He wants to absolutely destroy the Gophers because he wants to show them, like, this is why everybody should have wanted me. You know, Nebraska got him. But again, you should have wanted me. Here's why. Here's why you should have wanted me. And he wants to have a big game. I asked PJ that. Like, how do you stop a guy like that has a different internal motivation than maybe some of your players? Because his players don't know Emmett Johnson. Some of maybe the Minnesota guys do, but the rest, they're like, it's, you know, whatever. They're like, yeah. But this guy has a different internal motivation. Like they knew Ethan's story, the Kelly McManus story. They knew that, so they were prepared for him wanting to be great. Emmett Johnson's a different beast, and then you got little Patrick Mahomes, Dylan Raiola. I can't wait to see him in action because I'm gonna be on the field, and I just want to see some of the. I'm gonna try to video some of the Mahomisms. I'm gonna see how many he gives. Like I don't know if there's an over under on FanDuel for the Dylan Raiola Mahomesisms. But the Gophers have a tough task. Dylan Raiola can throw the ball. He doesn't have weapons that you can name, but he throws the ball a lot. But Emmett Johnson runs the ball well. Their defense, but Matt Rule every 3 to 4 years when he leaves a place tends to get it under control and control. Now here's the crazy thing: the AD over at Penn State had him back in Temple. He was Matt Rule. Matt Rule was with him in Temple before Matt Rule was like legit.
Yeah. And didn't Matt Rule get asked about this yesterday and he didn't really squash it? He kind of left the door open.
I'm going to leave the door open.
Yep.
I'm going to leave the door open.
He's Bruno Marsing it.
He's Bruno Marsing it. Here's the thing. Nebraska's Nebraska, but Penn State is Penn State. The way Matt Rule recruited Nebraska to get to where they are right now, will they ever get back to the black shirt defense? Will they ever get back to the Tommy Frazier era? They did get Dylan Raiola to come over, and that was the first step into getting like a 5-star guy to come there. And then, but it's Nebraska. Can you get the right? Penn State has a history of being top 3, top 4 in the Big Ten championship recently. Like Nebraska has old, they have new. It's Penn State. They have LeVar Arrington coming back to campus. They got first-round draft picks. Can Matt Rule go there and get a quarterback? Because I don't think Drew Aller is the guy. Matt Rule also has a toughness to him, I'd say. Penn State fell short of the NIL boat. And I think that's part of it too. Like, that's where the AD felt like there should have been more NIL push, whereas James Franklin wasn't about that life. He wasn't trying to really worry about getting guys because of NIL. Matt Rule's like, when he lost, I forgot who he lost, but he lost to somebody to Dan Lanning in Oregon. And I remember he tweeted out, I don't know if you saw this, Sam, but he tweeted out just emojis. And then he did it again because he felt like everybody was going to like blow up his Twitter after that. So his first tweet was a cash emoji, a person running emoji, and then a duck emoji. That's all he posted. And of course, everybody's like, wait, is he saying the kids are running to the money to Oregon? Of course he was. But he didn't say it. And he's like, what are you talking about? I like Duck Dynasty. What are y'all talking about? Like, he just played it off like, and then he tweeted later, like some smoke, something else, blah, blah. Of course, people are like, oh, so you want all the smoke. Yeah, of course he does. But he's not going to say that. He's going to tweet it out. He's going to make it cryptic like receivers do. Like Stephon Diggs would do after something happens. Like A.J. Brown did. Well, A.J. Brown wasn't really cryptic. He just flat out said it. But when you think about that, right? Matt Rule is using NIL. And I feel like Penn State would give him a ton if he wanted to try to use it and try to go after it and try to get these sponsors to show I can win a national championship. But when you talk about the Gophers in Nebraska, going back to them, Matt Rule does have the NIL guys. But I feel like the Gophers defense is good enough. They are great. They are top 3 in a lot of categories. Like, they are really good. Their offense, on the other hand, sometimes good, sometimes unseen. And again, throw the Ohio State game away. You throw that game away, their defensive stats are great. They're still like number, I think, 2 or 3 in the country. If you get rid of Ohio State, that Ohio State offense just absolutely killed them. And they're still top 5, top 6 in the Big Ten. Still top 5, top 6 in the Big Ten with the Ohio State game on there. You remove that, they're back to top in the nation. Top 5 in the nation. Because that was the only game where their defense really got exposed, and it was because their offense put them on the field too much. Their offense could not do anything. They couldn't get first downs. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't complete passes. They couldn't get open. Like PJ Fleck said, there was no separation. Does that come down to play calling? Does it come down to receiver? Is it maybe Drake? Just throw the ball. There's no separation going to happen against this team. Like, I go back to all my passes against Ohio State when I had my game. I wasn't wide open. I wasn't wide open at all. The slant route, boom, I got hit, and I just tipped the ball to myself. The other slant route, I got absolutely murdered by Mike Doss coming across the middle. My body spun around like a helicopter, but I made the catch. My deep ball, I did get a little separation on that one. It was a stutter goal. My slant route in the back of the end zone, everybody keeps talking about the fade, whatever, the adjustment. He's right there. Like that, I was covered. My quarterback just threw it up and said, go make a play. So sometimes, and again, Drake Lindsey's young. He doesn't really know his receivers just yet. He doesn't really know or have a guy that's going to go. I told Jalen Smith, I said, dude, go to him and tell him, like, if I'm covered, just throw it up to me and let's see what happens. If I make the play, then I can do it. And then you can keep coming back to me when all hell breaks loose. I think that's the key for a quarterback. You have to figure out when you can do this stuff, how you can do this stuff. So anyway, Sam, when you look at Nebraska versus the Gophers Friday night, it's almost sold out. It's not fully sold out yet because we got a lot of people out of town for MEA. So some people are probably just figuring out tomorrow once school's out, like, oh, shoot, we have nothing to do Friday. Let's go to the Gopher game. Do you think this is going to be like a Nebraska blowout? Do you think it's going to be a close one? Do you think it's coming down to a field goal? A lot of people are saying it's going to come down to a nail biter at the end. I think so too. Where do you put this matchup?
Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of parity already just with these two teams. I mean, the Gophers played a really tight game with Rutgers, really tight game with Purdue, and Nebraska played a really tight game with Michigan and a tight game with Michigan State. Like, there's a lot of close games in this conference. A UCLA can go win. A Northwestern can go to Penn State and win. So I think it's going to be tight. I'm worried that Emmett Johnson is going to do to the Gophers what Caleb Johnson did to them last year for Iowa, because that run game, that's a definite advantage for Nebraska. Gophers' run game's not been strong this year. Darius Taylor has not been what we had hoped. Injuries have played into that, but Emmett Johnson is really legit. And if he gets going, opens things up for Raiola, I think this will be the biggest test yet for the Gophers defense. And against Purdue, Ron, I mean, you got to admit they played with fire a little bit. They gave up a lot of yards, made some key takeaways, made some key interceptions. They're probably not going to be able to play that game as much against Nebraska. So I'm a little concerned about that defense getting exposed. For whatever reason, though, I've got faith in the Gophers offense, I think. I really believe that Drake Lindsey is the guy, and I like his passing weapons. I like Gears a lot. I like Brockington. I like Smith. I like that offense. I want to see this defense really play its best game of the year, though, too.
Yeah, and they got to. They have to. They have to play their best game, and you brought up a good point. The one good thing about last year is it's not the same team. Like Caleb Johnson with the Iowa Hawkeyes, it's not the same defense. They added some pieces. You got some young guys playing. Emmanuel Karamo from Cooper High School. You got Jackson Howard back. You got Anthony Smith, who's a new man, new beast. You got Devin Eastern, who's been playing great. So you have a lot of new bodies in there. But, defensively, Coy Parrish is a year older. Nestor looks good out there. Green, you got some guys out there making plays now and filling gaps and coming down. Maverick Baranowski has been healthy. I think that's the key too. Remember last year there was a lot of injuries on that linebacker crew where guys could not stay healthy. Maverick Baranowski is healthy this year, and he's the mainstay. I mean, if you ever see him too, like he looks like a wrestler, like has the neck thing, has the shoulder thing, has a big, the neck going into the head. He just looks like he was on the PJ Flex show yesterday with us. He just looks like a linebacker. Like when you draw a picture of a linebacker, I imagine him, like when you look at his head and body type, so having him out there to be able to handle this run game. Cause again, it's going to come down to like banging in the line, in the hole with fullback, tight end, whatever, to make that hole small. So he has to either bounce it or he's just trying to get 1 yard. If the Gophers can force Dylan Raiola, and I'm going to probably try to keep track of this to talk about it on the postcast. If they can keep Dylan Raiola to 3rd and 7 plus, 3rd and 7, they have a chance to win this one. If he keeps getting those 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s, now he can run the ball. And I think you're right with that. That's where Emmett Johnson now, or he can throw out a quick little sweet throw, which is a pass, looks like an extended run though, out to Emmett Johnson well in the flat, or in the bubble, where now he's in space with the guy, and that's a tough tackle in open field. And I asked PJ that too. He said, we got a gang tackle. Everybody's got to rally. We got to hit him in his legs. We got to hit him up top. We got to wrap up. We can't assume the tackle is made because he does come out of those. He's like, guys can't stop to the whistle, especially when he has the ball. Like, don't assume if he's in the pile, he's down, because he'll be in that pile and then all of a sudden, boom, he's out. Like you gotta keep playing till you hear the whistle blown, because if you don't, you will get beat. And that's what I hope we don't have to see. Because that's what sucks is coming back on Tuesdays with PJ. And then all of a sudden he's like, yep, we didn't tackle, like yesterday, he was super happy. We taped it a little earlier because the week is faster with a Friday game. So we went Monday for the recording, even though it's going to air tonight for the PJ Flex show. But yeah, it was crazy when you think about that, of how little, he was willing to say about the team besides that part. Like, we got to tackle. Like, he admitted that. Dylan Raiola, great, but we got to tackle. Like, we got to tackle as a team. And so that's what we have to keep an eye on, Gophers fans. But you know what? Homecoming, quickly before we get out of here, before we get to Daily 3, homecoming was great. I got chances to hang out with Adam Thielen. Ben Lieber was there. The Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chad Smith. I didn't even realize he was a Minnesotan. It finally clicked because I was like, why is he even here? But he's a Minnesotan, so he wanted to play homecoming with the band. The drummer looks like Will Ferrell. He does. I thought it was Will Ferrell for a minute, but Will Ferrell would not be at a Gophers game, just hanging out in the tunnel. And then, of course, the Gophers won homecoming. It was slow, very slow, and then they got off to a win. At the end, Coy Parrish picked 6. Great play by Coy, basically walked into the box as a down safety like Josh Metellus does. I think the quarterback thought he blitzed, so he threw it, and Coy was kind of hiding behind the 6'4" offensive lineman. And then when the ball came out, Coy saw it, jumped, caught it. Not only broke up the pass, but he caught it clean and then was able to scamper for a touchdown. So that's in the nutshell what happened. Darius Taylor didn't really do much on the ground, but he did have some catches in the air. Drake Lindsey did just enough to win the game, and I think that's all that matters. And so, but now I think it's going to require more Nebraska. I don't think that game against Purdue is going to get it done against Nebraska. They're going to have to do a little bit more offensively with some explosive plays, because Dylan Raiola will have an explosive here and there. Like he'll walk away with 1 or 2. Like, he's known for that. Because I mean, come on now, he wants to be Patrick Mahomes. We know that. Like in the Friday night everybody's watching because they're the only game on. So Friday night under the lights, college football, because of the Big Ten now having the Pac-12 guys that do Friday nights, which we're going to have Oregon on a Friday night. Oh, my goodness. I'm so sick of that. But we're going to have it. And so we'll see what happens when we get to the postcast. Hopefully it's a happy postcast, and I'm not sitting back saying, I cannot believe the Gophers lost to Nebraska. But we got the Daily 3 coming up. That's 3 questions. Spend about a minute each today, and we'll do that after a short pause. Well, Sam, Daily 3, it's your turn. Take it away.
Let's stay with college football. James Franklin fired after a 3-game losing streak. The Nittany Lions owe him $49 million of buyout money. Your reaction?
Oh, man. Can I get fired from coaching at Penn State? Like, that's a huge buyout. Like, I've seen a lot of tweets about that. Like, man, that's the blueprint. Win a couple games, win a couple years, get a big contract, and then screw it up so that they can fire you. You can sit at home and do nothing for you get $49 million. But you know what? Like, I don't know what else Penn State wants. It's kind of weird because it's like they do just enough, but, you know, losing 3 in a row, I get it. Like, they're probably like, man, is this a trend? Like, what's going on? But their quarterback's not good. But it's crazy. And then all the characteristics the AD named that he was looking for in a new coach, James Franklin has them. I just think it comes down to quarterback play. They didn't spend the NIL money to go get a big-time quarterback. They stayed loyal to Drew Aller, and you know what? He fell victim to it. But he's like, look, there's a $49 million cushion. I'm good. I'm going to sit back and do nothing, maybe go on some podcasts, go on some TV shows. You know, he'll be on some networks talking ball for, you know, maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but he'll come back just like every other coach does, Saban, all these. He'll show up on game day or somewhere, you know, like it's going to happen. But you know what? And I'm pretty sure, you know, because he probably doesn't want to take a job, because if he takes a job, he doesn't get that buyout. So he's going to probably want to just sit back and get all his money, because Glenn Mason told us about that one. So, well, I don't know. What do you think?
It goes to show just how much wealth and money we're dealing with at the levels of high college football. Like, if Penn State can just eat $49 million, and other schools have done this too, like Jimbo Fisher had a huge buyout, and several other schools have done this too. I mean, that's insane that you're willing to just eat that money, and it tells you how wealthy these donors are and how much money they have in the coffers. I'm sure Penn State will go and find a blue chip head coach, and they'll probably sign them to a huge deal, and then they'll be on the hook for how much more money. There's just a lot of money, man, at these high levels of college football. It's insane. Let's pivot to NBA. Season's a week away, Ron. Wolves start next week. What do you think is the biggest question mark facing the Timberwolves right now heading into the season?
Yeah, depth. When you look at, you know, Rob Dillinger, Dante DiVincenzo, Mike Conley, like, what's the depth? Like, what does that look like? Is Dillingham going to get more run this year? We know they got Rudy Gobert, you got Julius Randle, you got, you know, Anthony Edwards. But then after that, you know, what like is, you know, we know Joe Ingles didn't give us what he thought he was going to give us. You know, you got Naz Reid, of course, but, you know, where does he fall? He's probably the sixth man, if not probably starting. So it's depth. It's like, what else can you get off this bench? What can you get from the rest of those guys? How do you work that group? Is it a 8-man rotation, 7-man rotation? And again, we know Anthony Edwards is one of the best players on the planet. Can everybody else gel around him quicker? Last year, they got it together. Like, we thought it was going to heck, and then we're like, oh, wait, no, here we go. This is what it should look like. Can they continue on where they finished? Because they did look good towards the end of that, the beginning run of that playoffs is when we're like, okay, this team is good. Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards have it figured out. Can they take that next step now and finally get to the finals?
Yeah, it feels like this is the year for the young guys to take that step. You got to have Dillingham take a big step, Terrence Shannon take a big step. You got to figure out how to replace Nickeil Alexander-Walker. And then among the starters, too, have you figured out how to take a step in terms of playing together? Can Randall and Gobert be on the court successfully at the same time? Does Anthony Edwards know how to play with those guys as well, set up some pick-and-roll situations? Has Jaden McDaniels, figured out his role with those other two big guys on the floor? Where does he fit in? I think everybody needs to take a step in cohesiveness, in continuity. I thought they were kind of turning the corner last year, so they're going to try to win with continuity. They've got the same starting five for the most part. They lost one key bench piece. Can the young guys fill in for Nickeil? I think it's another big win season for the Wolves, but can they be a title contender when you've got OKC in your conference? That's going to be the big question mark. Last one, Ron. Baker Mayfield has the Bucs at 5-1. one of the best records in football, if not the best record in football. Would he be a deserving MVP if he continues playing at this level for the Bucs?
So, yes, the answer is yes, of course. But when you look at stats, right, he's 4th in yards for passing. So, who's ahead of him? Matthew Stafford? Probably not, because it's a team. So, it is a individual award, but you still have to have a good team. Like, your team has to get somewhere close to the playoffs or in the playoffs when you think about Lamar Jackson being MVP. Lamar Jackson being hurt, he was one of the front runners. He's not going to get it now. Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys aren't good. He's not going to get it. Sam Darnold is 3rd in the NFL. Sam, I don't know if you knew that. Sam Darnold is 3rd in the NFL, and he could have been a Viking. But Sam Darnold, that's not really comeback player of the year quality right now either, right? Because he played last year. Like, I don't think he can get comeback player of the year. Because he already got it, right? Or no? Did he not win it for the Vikings? Yeah.
They've tried to make that an injury award, so you have to be hurt to win it. That's why he didn't win it with the Vikings. You can't go from being bad to being good. You have to come back from an injury.
But you got Baker Mayfield, Drake May. So when you look at Patrick Mahomes below him, you look at Daniel Jones below him. Josh Allen is was always an MVP candidate. He's below him. Yeah, I'd say if he continues on this clip and they go 14-3, 13-4, and they're in the playoffs, yeah, Baker Mayfield is the MVP. Like, I don't see anybody ahead of him. Like, you can't give it to Sam Darnold unless the Seahawks rip off a bunch of games. Like, it's got to go to a team that's good too. You can't just give it to the guy with the most stats. You got to give it to somebody in the top 5. But then you also have to look at whose record and who does more for their team. And that's where I look at Baker Mayfield. He is the engine that makes that team go. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. He's 3rd on FanDuel right now, by the way. It's Mahomes, Allen, and then Mayfield. And they're all pretty close together. Then there's a big drop off to Drake May. But I think Baker Mayfield would be a refreshing vote for people instead of Mahomes or Allen. I think people would embrace the opportunity to vote for somebody like Mayfield, who was almost out of the league. He was done for, it seemed like. He was Carolina and the Rams and just trying to stay on rosters. And then the Bucs give him a chance. And now he's tied for the best record in football with Daniel Jones and the Colts. There's another almost Viking who's doing pretty well.
Yeah. 2 quarterbacks the Vikings could have had, but they went with J.J. McCarthy. And I'd say Sam Darnold maybe deserved 1 more year. I don't know what he would ask for. But that'll do it for us today. I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom. Hopefully in the next week or 2, we should have Adam Thielen. And then we're going to get a couple Gophers on the show as well. Maybe some upcoming interviews with them. But I'm Ron Johnson, Sam Ekstrom. Make sure you guys check out all the postcasts after every Vikings, Wild, Wolves, and Gophers game as team experts break down the games with Luke Inman as they talk about all the action, win or lose. They're going to be there for you. So make sure you guys check that out and log on and subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. I want to thank you guys. Have a great week.